We're off. Here we go. Three-week hiatus. We got Between Your Ears number 10 yesterday. We're on number 11 today. And I am joined by one of my favorite people in the world. Not only the best hitter on the Pancho Coimbre Legends, but I would say the best hitter in the league.
Wow.
Somewhere Cato Bauer is breaking stuff in a room right now. But it is my pleasure to welcome to the show Mr. John Treat. We had
I'm happy to be here. I haven't talked sports on any sort of recording in about a decade, so we'll see how it goes. I talk sports with my friends all the time, but nobody hears it except for us.
If our group chat became public consumption, would we get canceled quicker or would we just blow up? I don't know.
I just think people would be like, these guys are morons. You know, I just think it's not like we'd be canceled. People would just be like, these guys are absolute morons. Your memes are bad, like everything. Yeah.
Because IKF's different, bro. IKF's different when he's not at shortstop.
IKF is not a good player, and Yankee fans are really mad that he's still on the team. And I'm like, can he come to San Francisco? He's probably better than Brandon Crawford.
That's our starting center fielder now.
He's probably better than Brandon Crawford. He can come to San Francisco. That'd be great.
What is he? A 3-WAR player last year on Baseball Reference?
Hold on. Better than you would think, and better than like any Yankee fan will tell you. And I've actually defended him. 3.0 WAR on Baseball Reference.
So we're saying that the Yankees, despite the public outcry, won that deal with Gary Sanchez.
Well, didn't Gary Sanchez sign in like Latin America? He's not even in the major leagues anymore.
I know he was a free agent through the World Baseball Classic. Did he sign somewhere? Was he just like, I won't sign a minor league deal?
Gary Sanchez.
Or is he still unsigned?
Yeah.
He has to.
I'm not sure.
Still unsigned.
I thought I saw. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway,
still looking for a job.
The Yankees had so much confidence in Isaiah Kiner-Falefa that they brought in like 2 rookies and kept Josh Donaldson, and they have like 7 infielders who are better than him. So that's great.
Yep. Wow.
The Yankees have no outfielders other than Aaron Judge, and they have about 8 infielders who are good.
If you guys can't tell, despite Treat living in New York, he might be the city's biggest Yankee hater.
I don't know. There's a lot of Red Sox fans in this city. The Yankees fans just need to understand that there's 29 other fan bases that hate them.
On that note, let's not talk about the Yankees' old shortstop. Let's talk about the new shortstop, who I told you about over a year ago would be better than Bo Bichette. And that's Anthony Volpe.
You did. And I still commit that Bo Bichette is a good player. And Anthony Volpe is 21 years old.
I will take my roses, sir.
It was very funny when he started out last year hitting like 200. And that did not last. He's a great player. He's going to be fine. But anyway.
Volpe's better. And that's probably like the most tepid Yankee projection for like I'm talking like the moronic Yankee fans where they just think Volpe's going to come in and be like a 7-WAR guy or something.
I saw a headline today. Is he the next Derek Jeter? And I was like, hold
my God. Let's pump.
He's a good player. Don't get me wrong. He's got a bright future. Most teams would love a 21-year-old shortstop that's going to start for them on opening day, but holy hell.
Yeah.
Derek Jeter, 3,000 hits. No biggie.
Okay. So it popped in my head. Volpe or Wander Franco?
Wander Franco. Come on.
Getting crazy here. We're getting crazy.
The man has already had multiple good MLB seasons. Give me that performance any day.
Volpe's better.
And he says he's not
Volpe,
one of the moronic Yankee fans.
I have one gripe though, and we touched on it a little bit before the show, but Volpe's wearing number 11. And I'm here to say I think that's a little too soon. Because one Brett Gardner, that's Brett Gardner's number. And I think Yankee fans still see that and definitely associate that number with Brett Gardner.
Do people remember Gardner in New York as being like the great player he was a decade ago, or do people just remember that he couldn't really contribute in the last couple of years? Because I kind of feel like his reputation fell off pretty significantly as his skills declined.
I think on like the juiced ball year, he had more homers than Judge, and like Yankee fans were holding on to that for forever.
A good player, don't get me wrong, and he contributed to some pretty good teams.
For like a 5-year stretch, he averaged about like 3.5 to 4 WAR.
My gosh, he really did hit 28 home runs in 2019.
Well, I mean, Glaber hit 38 that year. So
that's incredible. That's a pretty noticeable percentage of his career home runs.
Nothing's wrong with the ball there. Nothing's wrong with the ball, you know.
Hey, you play good defense in the outfield and you take some walks and you'll be a good player for a long time. No shade on Brett Gardner. Most teams are looking for about 4 of those kind of guys in their lineup.
100%. He's a good player. He's a team Hall of Fame guy. I don't know about on the Yankees, but he's a team Hall of Fame guy. He's got a ring. How beloved would he be if he was a Giant? And I guess for those of us tuning in, Treat is our San Francisco guy.
If he was a Giant, like our fan base loves Brandon Crawford more than just about anything. He's the best shortstop in franchise history, and he's about the same kind of player as Brett Gardner. Like for most of his career, he just played good defense and got on base some and was a decent runner on the bases. And he won a couple of rings and he's a franchise icon. Absolutely. If he was in Texas, he'd be a franchise icon.
There's going to be some 12-year-old that stumbles upon this 20 years from now and yells out Rich Aurelia.
Rich Aurelia, speaking of one random year where they hit a ton of home runs, my man was out here with like 37 home runs.
Whatever cycle he was on, the human race should be on that.
Yeah. I mean, early 2000s Giants. What a time.
So you don't see any issue with Volpe wearing 11? It's
fine. Again, I said this. I've said this many times. The Yankees have retired all of the numbers that are worth a damn. There are not that many left.
You could have worn 0.
No,
I think they're missing out. Like, how many people are really going to go out there and buy an 11 jersey if they already have a Gardner jersey?
Well, can't they just say it's a Volpe jersey?
That's what I'm saying. They're going to miss out on money here.
The finances of the Steinbrenner family are very low on my list of concerns.
You mean with their $7 billion valuation now?
Yeah, and their payroll that isn't even in the top 2 or 3. It's embarrassing.
The Padres,
you're the New York Yankees. Yeah, you're the New York Yankees. Spend the money.
Do the Padres re-sign Soto? Just not to jump, but like, are the Padres going to re-sign Soto?
I can't imagine.
Can they?
Well, there's no salary cap. Of course they can. It's a question of what their owner can afford. And I don't know. Do you make that? Do you make that trade if you don't think you can re-sign him? You trade away some of your best prospects for like a year and a half? I don't think. I mean, of course they're going to try.
I would have said no before, but now after seeing what they gave Machado, which still just kind of hurts. It's crazy. Good for Manny Machado. I'm not hating at all. But let me see if I can pull this up on the screen.
Great player. He's really good.
Yeah, but do you really want to root? I don't know. He's cool, I guess.
Would I root for Manny Machado? Yeah, I would.
I struggle a little bit with how he ended Dustin Pedroia's career, but and that's a Red Sox. I just didn't like how that was done.
Fair enough.
Look at that. Oh, he's only making 17 this year, and I say that facetiously, but
well, has I don't think the extension's kicked in yet, has it?
No. Yeah, I understand, but how is it only 17 this year? He signed there's got to be deferrals. There's got to be a hell of amount of deferrals because he signed a 10-300 initially. That's crazy.
I don't know, but that's a heck of a roster
for a team. And the Padres were like a poor team for a while. Like they wouldn't spend money.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how many times have they made the playoffs since they made the World Series in 1998? Like, I think you can count it on one hand. I mean, they just have not been a very relevant team for most of the last 20 years. And now here they are with some of the biggest superstars in baseball. Good for them.
Dude, they have the best position player core right now. Right? It's not. I don't think it's remotely close.
If Tatis comes back anywhere near the level he was at, yeah.
Good God.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
I mean, Machado, Tatis, Soto, Ha-Seong Kim, Jake Cronenworth, Bogarts. Yeah. Are you kidding? That's an incredible team. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
The other contenders I'm looking through, I don't know, the Blue Jays, the Astros, the Braves.
Their payroll is like, it's hefty. I don't want to say like it's clear, but it's a lot better than I thought it was.
Yeah, there's only a couple guys on there that you look at and you're like, oh boy. And if Josh Hader bounces back, his salary doesn't look that bad. You know, I mean,
he's a free agent. He's not on the 24 list.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you gotta hope
they just don't really have a number one pitcher, right? I mean, Darvish is good, but
I'm happy to see his extension.
We've seen his ceiling. Yeah, we've seen his ceiling. Musgrove is pretty good, but they don't have a number one guy like some of the other teams in the National League. So I think if you're looking at something that could hold a roster like that back, it's, hey, we need to go out and win game one of the NLCS. The other team is starting Justin Verlander or
well, they're just gonna bludgeon you. That's what they're gonna do.
That's definitely the plan, and get 4 good innings out of the starter, which is how you win in the playoffs these days. But
yeah, and then go to the pen. You know what I mean? But yeah, we'll see. That core is just crazy, and they're just spending money like they're fun coupons at this point. Who's their owner? Seidel or something? I
don't know. I think the owner was connected to the Dodgers' old owner. I think I read a story about. I think he's related to Walter O'Malley, the guy who moved the Dodgers to LA, and then like made a bunch of money on his own.
If the Padres sign Shohei, do we just quit the sport?
I think there's a lot of evidence that employing Shohei Ohtani does not mean that you'll win.
Yeah, but you add Shohei to this team. I'm not talking about the Angels. The Angels
you might win the world. You might win the World Baseball Classic, but evidence is a little short that you might actually win in the MLB.
If the Padres get Shohei, I will probably adopt them as my National League team because that would be stupefying.
Yeah, the one I really don't want to see is Shohei moving across the Los Angeles area and putting on Dodger blue.
Yeah, I don't know if that would break the sport, but yeah, he might look good in those Dodger uniforms.
It wouldn't break the sport. It would just be really frustrating.
The Padres would. They'd probably become the most expensive ticket in the MLB. Because what's Shohei going to get?
$500 million?
No, I think he's going to get more than that. I think he's going to get more.
Being cynical for a second, the only downside risk on Shohei is how long could he do what he's doing right now? You maybe don't want to give him a 10-year deal. You know what I mean?
Hard disagree. And here's why. We saw during the World Baseball Classic what he will turn into. He will just become a closer and a hitter.
Yeah, but a closer isn't adding someone who can close to what he can do at the plate and on the base paths is not a $50 million a year player.
Oh, but what player returns value on those last couple of years?
Fair enough. I would happily sign Shohei Ohtani with someone else's money.
Oh, 100%. I would. Well, if I had money, I would sign. That'd be the guy I want.
You can get in line. There's about 15 MLB teams who are desperate to get him, and most of them are not going to.
Not the Pirates. Pirates won't do it.
No, I don't think the A's are going to sign him either.
Well, hold on. If they move to Vegas.
Again, don't hold your breath on anything happening in Oakland. That situation.
That has to be why Billy Beane's still their owner. I mean, still with them, right? Because he could get any job he wants.
I mean, at this point,
7% ownership stake. They're going to move to Vegas. That's going to be a lot of money.
Or it's just one of those things, and we've all seen this in our lives, where someone is just kind of content where they are. Whatever dreams Beane may have had, during the Moneyball era of winning a championship, he probably right now realizes that's somewhat unlikely, and he's probably just happy living in the Bay Area. And I know he has passions in other sports, and maybe he's just happy with that. Who knows?
Maybe we'll get him on the pod one day. You could ask him.
That'd be cool. I would love to ask Billy Beane all sorts of questions.
I don't think he doesn't seem like the people person though. All right, let's take a look at I want to look at some divisional stuff. We're going to use FanDuel just to see if there's anything out there. Before we get to that, I guess the big extension, typically this is, the time of spring training where we'll see a big extension. Andres Gimenez signs a 6-year, I think it was like $105 million extension.
Yep.
You like, dislike, love, hate it? How are we feeling about that?
I think that's pretty good. To get a guy at his age, I'm seeing that he's 24. To get a guy to buy out his arbitration years and get a player who was extremely valuable last year and has skills that will probably age pretty well through his 20s, I think is a pretty good deal. And leaving aside whatever financial constraints Cleveland might have, if he turns out not to be a great player, it's $20 million a year. It's not the end of the world.
I think
that's a core player.
I think it's mostly just a little surprising for me, where it's just like I didn't see him as an extension candidate, and I didn't have in my head Andres Gimenez $100 million player. But I think where the market is going, we're going to see a lot of $100 million players.
I think that's pretty smart business. I mean, even if you assume that last year is a bit of a fluke, 141 OPS plus, he hit 297, played good defense. Okay, even if last year is a bit of a fluke,
a little bit. They batted him like 6th or 7th in the playoffs. So
you're still looking at a player that is going to be foundational in your lineup. And
he couldn't even imagine it. Look at that. Asked if he could have imagined agreeing to this kind of deal a year ago. Gimenez said through his interpreter, in reality, no, when you think of how difficult baseball is and the ups and downs you go through. Did they just do the reverse Atlanta Braves where it was like they put
again? I think that's market value for a 24-year-old who is not arbitration eligible. I think that's market value.
Hold on, did Gimenez sign the Acuna deal? Because that'll just make me lose my mind at the moment.
No, he's not as good as Ronald Acuna.
But I think they're getting paid the same.
Right, but the downside risk on Gimenez is much higher because He doesn't have the track record of success and the tools of Acuna.
Yes, it is. It is basically the Acuna deal. It's even worse. The Acuna's making less.
Right. The Acuna deal is worse because on the open market, Acuna could be worth 3 or 4 times that, and Jimenez would be worth, I don't know, 1.5 times this.
How did they get that done? I just want to know. There's
Did
going to be
they kidnap?
There's going to be a 30 for 30 on it, man.
Oh my God. Him and Albies and all those other guys down in Atlanta. I think they run some sort of organized kidnapping ring.
There's going to be something. There's going to be something, man. I don't know. 8 years, $100 million. Like,
it's absolute malpractice. If one of my clients took a deal like that in like a settlement or something, I would. And remember, the client has the ultimate prerogative to take the deal. Like you have to take the deal to them, but you are allowed to say, "Sir, please don't take this." Please, you could get more. It is my professional opinion to not do that.
Oh my God, this it just upsets me. It just makes me angry. And like people will be like, "Oh, he had a down year last year," and it's like, I don't care.
I mean, he was recovering from an ACL. I think he was still pretty good. We saw in the World Baseball Classic, his speed is still there, his power is still there.
Yeah, you bet on that guy. You bet on that guy.
He hit that Devin Williams changeup at his ankles out to the wall in the quarterfinal the semifinal at like 118 miles an hour.
Yeah, best pitch in baseball as well.
He's a baseball god, Acuna.
Yeah. All right. So we have Shohei. Are you taking the over or under on 500 mil?
Over.
Yeah, me too.
Just that's how bidding wars work. Yeah.
Over under 600.
I think that's about right.
Oof, 600. That's the over under.
Yeah.
Is he going to be a Met? Is he going to be a Met?
No.
Wow, you say no.
No, I think he stays on the West Coast. I think LA, the Dodgers, is the most likely outcome.
I'm sorry. I feel your pain in that statement.
Well, it's all right. There's Baltimore Orioles fans who had to watch the Yankees win championships for 20 years. So
Yep.
Someone has to be the sad sacks of a division.
I really think the Mets are in play there, man. The combination of Epler, who is the GM who got him initially. Epler was the GM with the Angels, and Cohen, who can literally spend more than anyone on this earth. Like, question. The Ringer did a franchise draft where you get to essentially assemble your own franchise. Who's your pick at the 101? If you're making an MLB franchise, you're drafting owner, GM, or we could just say front office for any Rays fans out there, or player, marquee player. Who's your 101?
Do I get like franchise? Because if I'm getting franchise, I want the New York Yankees, just with the history and like the position in the city. But if I don't get franchise, I think I will take. Yeah, I mean, Steve Cohen has gone right. I don't think franchise was in it.
I don't think franchise was in it.
Okay, so if that's not in it, then I guess I would take. Yeah, I guess I would have to take Cohen.
It'd be Cohen.
Just because, and the other thing I was considering was the Dodgers ownership. They'll spend money too.
Guggenheim?
They're really smart.
Yeah,
they're really smart. They've assembled this machine where they have all these uber talented prospects despite having a loaded big league roster. But you want the owner ahead of a front office because front office people retire and move on, and owners own the team for decades. So
also,
yeah, you could
shout out Dodgers front office for renewing Andrew Toles' contract for another year. We like to see that.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, if you could sign up to get, I mean, I know there was turmoil, but if you could sign up to get George Steinbrenner's ownership, yeah, you would take that at the start, right? I mean, The Yankees
if I could
won a
get
lot with Steinbrenner.
George himself with this Yankee valuation,
Yeah.
oh yeah, he would smush Steve Cohen.
Well, what I was saying, yes, but what I was saying was, if you could, like, when Steinbrenner took over the Yankees, knowing what you know, like in the next few decades, you would take that just because he owned the team for so long and they were so successful, right? That's like
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, besides the Dave Winfield saga,
I didn't say it was all good. Okay, he was kind of a piece of shit as a person.
Yeah, maybe outside of the blackmailing your best player because you don't want to pay him anymore.
Yeah, he was a piece of shit, and the whole Billy Martin thing was a disgrace, and whatever. That's fine. They won like 8 championships.
Yeah, I think we all make that deal. All right. Any team stand out to you that had the best offseason, which I know as a Giants fan might hurt you a little bit?
It's actually, the Giants didn't have the worst offseason, I'll tell you that. We tried. At least there's that. Yeah, I actually think it's the Mets. I think they took. Yeah, I know they didn't get. I know they didn't get Correa, but they took the holes in their roster from people leaving, and they went out and signed Verlander. They got the Japanese pitcher Senga. They replaced. Good. Yeah, they replaced the catcher McCann, who was awful last year. I think they filled in some of the holes in their roster. Yeah, I just think the Mets did a good job of taking a near championship level roster, obviously until Diaz got hurt, and filling in the holes. I really like that. I don't, as we've seen in previous years, the teams that make all the big splashy moves, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I like a team that knows what they need and goes out and executes it.
Sounds like you were working in favor of the Mets. You said they had the worst offseason.
Oh, sorry. I think they had the best offseason.
If that's the worst offseason, who's the best?
No, the worst offseason are the teams that are just like, we're not trying to get better. What did Oakland do? I mean, what did Oakland do to get better?
They ran into the same Acuna kidnappers because they sold Murphy for nothing.
Right. What did Pittsburgh do to get better? Those are the teams that do the worst.
Piss off Brian Reynolds.
They did. So sorry. I answered the question I answered for best.
No, good. I agree. The Mets had an awesome one, especially with DeGrom already hurt. Let me see if I can bet. I mean, Senga, Verlander. I like Verlander's contract better than $185 for DeGrom, and I don't know if there's a bigger fan of Jacob DeGrom than me. But we know that that's not going to end well, right?
Yeah, I think for the last few years, he's averaged around 100 innings a year. That's not great. And it might even be less than that. I mean, they're obviously outstanding innings, but yeesh.
I mean, at what point, what do you do with DeGrom? How do you manage that? Give him a closer?
No,
6-man rotation? Tell him to stop throwing 102 every pitch?
I mean, there's a difference between like cold, hard logic and what you actually can do with human beings. And you can't tell Jacob DeGrom, you're not a starter anymore. I mean, it's just not really feasible. So you kind of have to just let him go out there. Maybe you skip some of his starts. You try to control his innings. You try to tell him, hey, October matters more than June, but you can't do any of the creative things like, oh, you're going to be a 3-inning fireman, or you're going to,
right. No. Maybe like a Kershaw plan, what the Dodgers do with Kershaw.
Yeah. Hey, Jake, you're going to throw 120 innings.
Yeah. You'll have a sub-2 ERA.
Yeah. We're going to throw you 5 innings to start, 6 innings to start, and you're going to skip starts.
Yeah. All right. These are the Mets moves really quickly through it. They spent over $500 million. Nimmo, 8/162.
Good deal.
It's an overpay.
Yes.
Good deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to age well, but Brandon Nimmo's a good player.
No. I would rather have it than the Aaron Hicks deal, which was 8 for 80, but 162 for a 5-WAR player. That sounds about a little bit of an overpay, but you got to factor in that New York tax.
A little bit, but I think on the open market, that's about right.
Yeah. Diaz 5102. We know that, unfortunately what happened during the WBC, but I think it was a good deal at the time, and I still think it's a good deal.
I think that one's way more likely to age poorly. Look at big deals for relievers; those generally don't go well. But again, if you have Cohen money, what do you care?
Yeah, exactly. And this is the deal that I like: Verlander 286 instead of DeGrom 186. And his contract has a vesting option, which as long as they don't J.A. Happ him, he will probably hit that. So essentially it works out.
He won the Cy Young. I mean, there's not much more to say than that. He looked just as good as he did before the injury.
I don't think he should have won the Cy Young. But
who should have won the Cy Young?
I think Valdez. Valdez had a better year. I don't know. Maybe it's just I wish Verlander was a Yankee, so I'm just kind of jaded.
Okay. I disagree, but that's okay. It's not worth arguing about.
Senga on a 575, which is interesting because all the reports was Senga would make more than Yoshida did, and then the Red Sox just kind of I don't know, came over the top for Yoshida, which who knows, maybe it'll work out. The guy's apparently an OBP king, but which we like. We like OBP.
Yes, we do, and he's got a good swing.
We'll see. Senga 575. That looks pretty good. I mean, considering I know you're saying
the only question is whether there's any sort of adjustment period. We've seen Japanese
comparing it to over. I mean, I know he wasn't as big as Tanaka was, but considering that, he got a 575 when Tanaka came over. Tanaka got 755, and I know it's a different posting system. It feels like a good move. Trust Billy Epler a bit. He's definitely someone who has a pulse on the Japanese market in terms of players. He's more often than not right.
Yeah, and talking about stuff for a second, I mean, I know a lot of those Japanese guys have those fork balls, but his seems to be really good. Different. It's really good. Oh my God, that pitch just falls off.
Yeah,
and then the rest of the Mets moves, they just kind of filled out their roster. I mean, you see Jose Quintana on there. He's not great, but he's all right.
He's already hurt.
Yeah, over Omar Narvaez and David Robertson. That's just filling out a roster.
Yeah, I think they did fairly well. Good on them. I do think that do you think Correa comes back to bite them not doing that deal?
Oh gosh. I've asked myself this question as a San Francisco fan. On one
I understand San Francisco not doing it, to be clear. I understand San Francisco having reservations because I don't see you guys as a bona fide World Series contender with or without Correa.
Yeah. On one hand, I'm like, gosh, how bad could it be if you get 4 good years out of him? Mm-hmm. The rest, I don't know. But for 2 pretty smart organizations to take a look at his ankle and say, we want nothing to do with that on a long-term deal. I have to think that's just prudent management. And yeah, it's really frustrating though. I mean, It must have been so frustrating for Correa. It was really frustrating for those two fan bases. I mean, just an absolute shit show. I mean, really, really just, I mean, it was great drama for us fans, but wow.
Yeah. If you were, well, I hate that if you were the GM, we don't have access to the medicals. And like, it's not our money. It's not our reputations. It's not our job. But I feel like Correa is probably one of those guys that I would probably take the chance on. And I think it was telling that Minnesota was willing to make the investment and take him back.
I don't think that's a GM call. I actually think that's an owner call. Oh, yeah. I think the GM goes to the owner and says, this is, our medical people are saying this is not a good idea. It's your money. What do you like? If you want to throw away the end, I mean, I can give you a projection on what he's going to be, but it's your money. And I'm pretty sure that the ownership says, no, I'm not doing that.
Interesting.
So that's my understanding of how those sort of decisions get made at that level.
Yeah, I think it's kind of crazy that Cohen said no. Out of all the owners who could eat that, you know what I mean? You would think Steve Cohen would just be like, fuck it, I'm signing him.
It's just a question, I guess, of how crazy you want to be. I mean, this is not a guy that made all that money by saying fuck it. I mean, these sorts of hedge fund guys, they make all their money by insider trading in Steve Cohen's case. But other than that, they make their money by making smart decisions. And that's just not, there's no way to look at something and say, I'm going to get 3 years of value on a 10-year contract. That's just not a prudent decision in any way.
We'll see. I'm just glad he stayed out of the Judge race because Aaron Judge could have very easily been playing in Queens.
I think Judge wanted to stay in the Bronx, genuinely.
Yeah,
like he had the Giants, and he said no.
Yep, I think he needed to flex on Cashman for leaking the deal. I think it was a principle thing where he was like genuinely pissed off, and you know, I kind of laugh at the Yankees a little bit about this because when you look at the offer that they gave him, I really, really believe that if they would have given him the Nolan Arenado extension, this wouldn't have been an issue. They would have saved themselves $100 million. But they didn't.
Yeah. I didn't understand the decision at the time not to extend him. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but he went out and had the best walk-year season in MLB history.
It's
what bananas. A legend.
Let's see how it pays off, though.
He'll be fine. When Aaron Judge is on the field, he is a dominating player.
That he is.
It's that simple. He might be the best hitter in baseball on a per at-bat basis.
Which is wild to say. All right. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the Ringer power rankings because we have a little bit of dissension among us here. I think it's slightly a little overstated. And number one has to be, the Astros. It's kind of a duh. I do think I will say, and this is not something that I've done every year, kind of like with what we've seen people do with the Patriots, where it's like, this is the year they're going to suck. This is the year that they're going to suck. This or that. I do think that we might see some regression here. And I say that because Altuve's hurt.
Yes.
Alvarez is kind of this. He's dealing with an injury that we're unaware of. His power has been gone in the spring. Could that be something? Could that be nothing? We don't know. But, this is a man who's already missed a year to a mysterious knee injury that we had no idea. And I just think that they've lost a lot of talent. We're talking about they lost George Springer. They lost Verlander. They lost Cole. And Correa. Gurriel is probably really 45 years old. They did add Jose Abreu. but he's up there in age.
And I think there's a reasonable question as to whether the pitching staff whether their performance last year is repeatable. I mean, I know Framber Valdez is good. I just am a little hesitant to say, yeah, they're all going to be great again.
Sure. And, this new kid they have, Hunter Brown, I mean, looks like the real deal.
Really does throw exactly like Verlander. It's kind of creepy.
Yeah. Not music to my ears. And I'm remiss to say that we didn't even mention the World Series MVP in Jeremy Pena, who was better than Correa last year.
Another possible regression candidate.
Yeah. I will say stealthy MVP candidate. And it pains me to say it, Kyle Tucker.
Yeah.
I don't we'll look at his odds later, but he's someone that I'm looking at for AL MVP. And if he has like plus 2,000, plus 20,000 odds, that might be like just, hey, for shits and giggles. Because he has the prospect pedigree, and I really think he's due for an absolute breakout.
Well, and he's had 2 years of good performance now, so it's not just you're relying on prospect status. Tucker's been quite good for 2 seasons. Well, I'd say 3 seasons now. 2020, 2021, and 2022.
So no qualms there with the Astros. Kind of number one. They have the Braves too, and I don't agree with it. I just don't understand how. I don't know. I don't have the Braves ahead of the Phillies. I don't even think I have them ahead of the Mets, but they do have the best overall young roster.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
You think the Phillies are better than the Braves?
Well, I mean, if we're going to put the Astros nominally at number one because they won the World Series, the Phillies made the World Series and they added Trey Turner.
I don't think that's why the Astros are number one. I think the Astros are number one because the writer Zach Cram genuinely believes that they have the best roster. I don't think the Phillies have the best roster.
Mm-hmm.
The second best roster.
I would
hold on. You think the Phillies have a better roster than the Braves?
I think in a 7-game series right now, I would take. Well, do I have Harper?
Well, I think the point of the rankings is for the regular season for now, and for Harper's out for half the year. And if you're looking at what they're going to do over the next 162 games, the Braves were better than the Phillies last year. They won more games, and they won the World Series the year before. They have more talent, I think.
I'm taking the Phillies over the Braves right now.
Okay.
The
Mets is a different question.
Al writes out. I don't know. I just I think that there's something to winning. I think the Phillies are still in there. I mean, if you're telling me if I could take a team for the next decade or so, of course I don't. The Braves might be number one on top of that list just because they've locked up nearly everybody on deals that really make no sense. I don't understand it. Almost all of their deals really make no sense. Let's see if they pay Max Fried. But I don't know if Strider's going to be the same. There's a little concern about that. Let's see how he bounces back from a not so great postseason. Kyle Wright's already hurt. And I think that they're going to miss Swanson a little bit there. I think that's a big loss in a lot of ways, defensively and offensively.
That's fair. Dansby Swanson doesn't stand out because he doesn't have any exceptional tools, but he is just good at just about everything he does.
I see Swanson and I think the same thing's going to happen in Boston. I think there's going to be a leadership void there. Bogarts was that guy for Boston, and I think Swanson was that. He's proven to be a program guy, like a culture setter guy. He did it at Vanderbilt. I think the same. We might see some of the same things in play with Atlanta. Just not sold. I don't know.
Fair enough.
They're not my number 2 team. Are they top 5? 100%.
Yeah, I think I'd have the Mets. I think I'd have the Mets at 2. We talked about how good their offseason was. We've talked about how good their roster is.
Yeah, they're just stacked. They're just so stacked. They're so stacked. I will say, though, the one thing that I would kind of have a little bit of issues with the Mets is I think they're going to be a hell of a regular season team. But there's a difference in the postseason. And I don't want to say it's like the NBA where, like, you know, there's great regular season teams in the NBA. And then in the NBA postseason, it's a demonstrably different game. Like the calls are different. Things of that nature are all different. And kind of what I see with the Mets is that offense is very streaky. It's not a lot of the hitters are just like they're just streaky, especially when you have like Lindor, who is a streaky type hitter, Alonso, streaky type hitter. I don't know if they're the best constructed postseason team because we see it time and time again with the Astros. The Astros can match people's power and they don't strike out.
That's a very good point. And it's one I hadn't considered. My thought coming in is just you assemble the most talent you can, you win the most games you can to maximize your chances of getting in the playoffs and to increase your seed. But you're right. We see it all the time. Baseball is a sport where the best team doesn't necessarily win the World Series, doesn't necessarily make the World Series, as we saw last year. And I would be interested in a study of like streakiness and how that affects postseason performance. That's a very interesting point.
Sure. I mean, like, the examples that kind of pop out to my head is your team and my team. Those Giants teams that won 3 World Series. They did not beat down any doors offensively. But in the postseason, man, there is value in not striking out. There is, and I think it's similar to like NBA teams in the postseason where that Kawhi Leonard run, mid-range jumpers work in the postseason, man. For whatever reason, man, we know over an 82-game season doesn't work. But in the playoffs, man, you got to have a mid-range game. And the 98 to 2000 Yankees, or we could expand it to the 96 to 2000 Yankees. None of those teams were, you know, they weren't the current construction or the current iteration. And there is a difference. And I think that this was kind of exemplified in the World Baseball Classic, which I love. There is a difference between 162 game strategy and a tournament strategy. And to win in the MLB, you got to be able to do both. And I think the Astros are the best example of that.
Well, let me push back a little bit with the Mets in particular. And it's not going to be about their offense. It's going to be about the fact that they have 2 absolutely dominant pitchers at the top of their rotation. And what really won those World Series for the Giants was the pitching. And you don't need 6 runs a game in the playoffs. And if you get 3 and pitch well, you may well win. And so I agree with your point about the strikeout ability, limiting strikeouts and streaky hitters, not, you know, if you go cold at the wrong time, but man, I'd like to have those 2 guys.
Like we know it drives this is what drives me nuts. We know that over the course of 162 games, going for the 3-run home run produces more wins than bunting. We know that. But when you have to win 1 game and you're down 1, I don't understand why teams don't bunt.
Well, I'll take the fundamental players the Mets have. I mean, Lindor and McNeil they're going to make the right play. Starling Marte is going to make the right play. So I don't know. I'm still a believer in the Mets. I think they're very good. I think they are. That's fair, and that's very fair.
How do you think? So we know Verlander and Scherzer on any given night can be the best pitcher in baseball, even at their advanced age now. Via their tools, they still have elite tools. They still can throw 100 miles per hour. Maybe not Scherzer, but Verlander can. But their pitchability, I think, makes up for that. They're absolute dogs. But I have concerns when you're depending on your ace and co-ace, and they're close to 40, if not 40 already. How are they going to hold up over the course of a season? How are they going to hold up in October? We've seen Scherzer in his Dodgers stint kind of like gas out in the playoffs.
Yeah, and Verlander he's pitched a ton in the playoffs. He hasn't always pitched amazingly in the playoffs, especially in the World Series. I don't know. That's a good question.
Verlander's playoff postseason record might be worse than Kershaw's.
It's not, but it's not great. And
it's similar.
Let me sum it up like this. I think the Mets fans would love to find out how they will do in the World Series.
I'm not saying you don't sign them, but I'm saying that's a little bit of a concern.
It is. It pushes back on what I said, that you want those two guys. That's fair.
Number 4 is the Padres.
No complaints. No complaints whatsoever. That team is incredible.
Tatis has 20 more suspension games. We touched on it earlier. Probably the best core 4 right now in the game, position player wise. Kudos to whoever their owner is. I mean, Jesus Christ, they're ridiculous. I don't think I would have the Padres above the Yankees, though, just to be fair.
You see, that's the real debate we're going to have, is the Yankees at 7 in these rankings.
Well, I just don't. I really think it's reactionary, and I think that the Yankees are the clear number 2 in the American League, and I don't think that there's that many National League teams better. And I know that everyone last year when they got unpantsed by the Astros, which I thought the series was a little bit closer than a sweep, but it's a sweep nonetheless. It's still a successful season. And I know irrational Yankee fans don't want to hear that, but this was not a good team post the trade deadline. And they had maybe the worst trade deadline of the last 20 years. But let's talk about the Dodgers. We could get to the Yankees and why I think they should be higher after. I think the Dodgers should be lower. I think this is a team that had a lot of subtractions. I think Turner is a massive subtraction. I was surprised to see them let Bellinger go. Kind of surprised to see them let Turner go. And we're gonna see how their prospects show up. Would it surprise me? You see who they lost, and you see who they added: J.D. Martinez, Hayward, Peralta, Miguel Rojas, in place of Turner. Both Turners, Bellinger, and Tyler Anderson. That doesn't inspire confidence to me. They just lost Gonsolin and Gavin Lux. This looks like a reshuffle year for me. I would not have them 5.
Essentially, the debate comes down to how much they're almost certain to be worse, but they won 111 games. So the question is, much worse. If they are 11 games worse, which is pretty significant, they still win 100 games. That is still an incredible season. And even in a pretty good division, the question is, how much regression will there be? I don't think we can.
No, you're saying?
I guess the question is, let's see. I actually don't think we can answer it right now. Let's see
how far did the Giants fall from 108?
Quite far. Hold on. The Giants won 81 games. 81. So 19 plus 8. Yeah, 27 games. One of the biggest drops in big league history.
So I think that Dodger team. Look, I'm not gonna come out here and say the Dodgers aren't gonna make the playoffs. Let's not. This is not Skip Bayless hot take hour. but I do think that team is looking a little too much towards next year, which could be good organizational play. But I don't have them as the 5th best team in the league.
Okay, so
at current standing.
So if I were to give you the Dodgers, I'm seeing a Dodger over under. I'm seeing just a quick Google between 94.5 and 96.5. So that's pretty significantly down from the year before with 111 wins. And you're the betting guy. If I give you 95.5, let's split the difference. What do you take?
Looking at the sports book.
Yeah, we could pull up the actual book right now.
I'm pulling it up. My snap answer is that I subscribe to the religion known as Andrew Friedman, and I do not bet against him. That's my snap answer. I will say that I do think that they have a much tougher division this year.
Well, but you just gave a snap answer that they're going to win 96 games or more.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
That is a very good baseball team.
I will I'll take the under. I'll take the under.
Okay, fair. I disagree. I'll take the over. And
you take the over?
Oof. Yeah, I just explained my reasoning.
I'm trying to see win totals.
Yeah, I just explained my reasoning. I just think there's a minimum of how far a team that talented, or a maximum of how far a team that talented could fall.
Okay, I have the sports book up now. Win totals.
There we go.
Let's do it.
No. Yeah.
All right, we'll start with the Dodgers here.
Yeah, well,
we're under 96.5. I would take the under.
Yeah, I'll go with the over on that one.
Really?
I just think they're good. I just think they have a lot of good players.
I think they have a really tough division, and I think there's a lot of parity. I mean, I don't have them winning the division, and I know we've seen multiple 100-game winners in that division in the past, but we'll see.
Yeah, it is a good division. I mean, you have the Padres, obviously. The Giants expect to be a bit better than 81 and 81. The Diamondbacks are on the rise. You only have one really bad team, and they play in a ballpark where they can beat you. Just because that's how baseball works up there. Yeah, it's a tough division.
So back to the ringer. Phillies are 6th, and I think I'm a little higher on them than you are.
You are.
I really, 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 I think Trey Turner's going to have his best season yet. These rules, man. I think a walk is a double for this guy this year. And he's another, I said with Kyle Tucker, I think he might be an MVP candidate. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think Trey Turner might be an MVP candidate this year.
That's a really good one. I really like that. I think that's a good bet, especially if they start out well with no Harper, because he would get the credit for that.
Right. And dude, it's bananas, man. He didn't need any advantages to stealing bases. And I know I joked about 100. That's not going to happen. But the fact that I threw the over under at 73.5, and we have to think about it. We haven't seen that in baseball in a while. I think it makes it a much more fun sport.
That's certainly what they were trying for.
And especially with that lineup behind him, man, I'm not the biggest Schwarber guy, but he continuously proves me wrong.
Gets on base.
Real Muto's a big guy. I think Hoskins is replaceable, man. I like him, but first base is pretty easy to kind of replace in this league. So I think I'm higher on the Phillies than most. I think that once you get a taste of winning, I think it's infectious, man. And that brings us. Oh,
go ahead.
No,
No.
Yours.
Let's go to the New York Yankees.
Woo!
Let's go.
All right. Flip our haps around for this one. I don't think that the second best team in the American League should be ranked 7th. This is, like I was telling you before, this is not an AFC versus NFC thing where the AFC has all the superstar quarterbacks and all their teams are better. The Yankees at 7 is almost mind-blowing to me. This is a team that is this. I think they're not on the Astros level, even at full health. I don't think that they're there yet. But I think it's the Astros, teardrop, Yankees, teardrop, everybody else.
Oh, yeah, they're certainly the second best team in the American League.
And
I'd be shocked if someone else was better than them.
Their rotation at full strength, that it gives them a fighting chance against the Astros. But that's a big question now because we're down Rodon, we're down Severino, we're down Montas. And I really think that deadline last year is an all-time worst. Absolute. As everybody was like losing their minds, I think I was the only guy who was like, I hate every move that we made.
You did. Every single one.
It was just terrible. Like, people were losing their minds for Scott Efros. I was like, we gave up Wisniewski and he's good. He could literally do what Efros does. Then the Waldachuk and Sears trade, JP Sears came up and gave us like 5 straight 5-inning shutout games. And we were like, oh, thanks. We're going to go with Frankie Montas. And on top of it, we're going to give you Waldachuk, who's absolutely disgusting this spring training. I'm scared to remember who else we sent for Montas. The Bader deal, let's call it equal. I'm not going to say it's a win.
I got it. It made sense.
We'll call it equal. That was probably our best trade, and that's after like multiple no-hit bids from Jordan Montgomery. Because Bader turned into God in the playoffs.
Yeah, he did hit a couple home runs in the playoffs. That was nice.
Talk about regression candidate. Who else did we make a move for? I mean, that alone is a really, really rough deadline, especially because we could use all those guys now.
It's rough, but then you come into this season and you go in the offseason, you re-sign Judge. That's the most important thing that any team did, I think. And they got Rodon, the best pitcher on the market.
Who's already has a forearm strain, which I get antsy when I hear, oh, it's no big deal.
Yeah, well, forearm strain can mean torn UCL, or it could mean his arm kind of hurts. We don't know. The Yankees' ceiling is top of the league. The downside risk with the injuries and a lot of injury-prone players and relying on 2 categories of players, one of which is young kids. They're really talented. They might not provide all the value right away. And the other is guys whose best days are behind them. There might be more Aaron Hicks and Josh Donaldson at bats than people want in this town. So I think there is downside risk of the Yankees. Like if their starters start missing, 10, 20 starts each, and there's 300, 400 bats taken by guys who aren't very good or aren't quite ready for that stage. Yeah, maybe they don't hit their ceiling.
On the other hand, we won't find another Matt Carpenter, Barry Bonds stretch?
Right. He'll do that for the Padres instead. But the upside is obviously World Series champion, right? if Garrett Cole could have a real bounce back year from a little bit of a down year last year, the prospects could really hit. The pitchers these could be little injury blips and nothing serious. And the Yankees go out and win 100 games again and win the World Series. I mean, I think the upside is something that you definitely shouldn't look past. And you're right, 7's a little low on this list. Someone has to win games in the American League.
Exactly. I mean, and I think, I don't know if you'll remember, but I'm going to ask you to remember to try to give me a little kudos my way when they got to 70 wins, and we were talking about in the chat where it was like, what's a fair over under? And I was like,
right.
105.5, and I would take the under because we won a lot of games that we shouldn't have won.
Yeah, I think it was a true, like they were a 9,900 win team, and that's how many they won. They overperformed a little in the first half and underperformed a little in the second half. And the nature of the media and the fan base in this city is to the first half, oh my God, we're going to break the Mariners record. And the second half, oh my God, we suck and Aaron Boone should get fired and blah, blah, blah.
I mean, we're lucky we had Judge, and I still maintain that's the level of season it's going to take to win MVP over Shohei Ohtani. That's it.
Pretty much.
Without that, Shohei's the MVP.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you, I watched about 150 Yankee games last year. I watched them in person quite a bit. I will just randomly just be like, I'm paying $8 and I'm going to watch them play the A's or the Pirates. I will go. And I'm here to say, Mitt, that when you have a lineup 6 through 9, where it's Donaldson, Hicks, IKF, and Jose Trevino batting 130 after the All-Star game, and you're winning games, it's amazing. I really think that I don't know, man. The Yankees are probably the luckiest team last year in a lot of ways. And they almost lost to Cleveland. We probably should have lost to Cleveland.
Yeah, you probably should have.
And you called that one. You did call Cleveland over the Yankees, and I was like, I was going to disappear from the chat for about a month.
I did it mostly to be a hater, but I was almost correct, and that would have been very, very happy. It made me happy.
Yeah, I would have cried for a little bit, but did we really win? We got smoked. We'll wrap up on number 8. I think everybody after the Blue Jays at 8, and it's kind of fitting that they have Jose Barrios up there. This guy is Jesus.
He's done. He sucks.
He
sucks.
Take it easy. Take it easy. That's
Puerto Rican legend who you watched like one inning of him in the World Baseball Classic and you wanted to throw your phone out the fucking car. So
I was very, very upset. I was not pleased. I was like, I was looking to bet on that game, and I was like, who do we got starting for us? Barrios? Oh, Jesus.
Javi Baez made an error and Barrios gave up a tank, and you're like, fucking hell.
Yeah, I'm out. No, thank you. This is not good. He's having one of the, and like, look, I don't want to laugh at people's pain, but it is astonishing how far he's fallen off since signing that extension. Kudos to his agent for telling him, hey, you should sign this. You should take this money.
Not all agents are terrible. That's a good agent.
Yeah. Thank you.
That man is earning his 5% commission every day.
Should take this deal because
every start that Barrios makes with an ERA over 5, the agent is just like counting his money.
Yep.
Fully guaranteed, baby. No, the Blue Jays are good. They're good. They have good players pretty much everywhere on the diamond.
Underrated.
They have a good rotation.
Underrated signing, Chris Bassett. I really think that was a good scoop by them. They might have overpaid a little bit. I think it was like a 468, but hey, man, there's value in taking the bump and going to a 3.5 ERA. He's not a sexy pitcher at all. Like, no one's like, oh, Chris Bassett's on, I want to watch. But the guy gets the job done, man.
You really need those. You really need those kind of guys. Okay, I got a question for you. What would it take for the Blue Jays to have a better record than the Yankees this year? Would it take much, or do you think it's really in the realm of possibility?
I would say a combination of Judge regressing to a 5.5 to 6 WAR player, and Vladdy being MVP Vladdy. I think that's about the difference there.
Some pitcher injuries for the Yankees.
Shout out Jared. Jared, one of my good friends in the world. Probably one of my best fantasy friends, but you can learn a little bit from us.
Jared, we'll talk about something else, huh? We'll talk about, I don't know, whatever the hell you're into.
He picked up fantasy football not too long ago. I want to say like 4 or 5 years ago. And I would take his knowledge of fantasy football on par with anyone else except me.
Can't be any fucking worse than me at fantasy football. I'll tell you that.
Well, if you listen to our fantasy football shows, maybe it'll get better.
Maybe I will. All right, hold on. Before we stop talking about the teams, can we talk about San Francisco for like 2 minutes?
Yeah. Should I pull them up on the ringer? Where are they?
I'm sure they're at like 15. We're
going to keep talking about the teams. We're going to keep talking about the teams. I was just going to switch over to MLB.
No.
FanDuel.
Yeah. Let me just talk about 15. Let me just talk about the Giants for a minute.
There we go.
This is the definition of just a mediocre team. 15 is the perfect spot for them. No, seriously. They have one player who's good, and that's Logan Webb. They have plenty of okay players. Like, they don't really have a ton of bad players, but they just have one good player. The rotation, Alex Wood, Anthony DeSclafani, these are just like the Chris Bassett types you were just talking about.
Yeah.
And then they have an entire lineup of those guys. It's like Brandon Crawford, Tyro Estrada, Mike Yastrzemski, Michael Conforto after not playing baseball last year. Like, it's just a team full of uninspiring, uninteresting players that is going to win 85 games. They'll be in contention into September. They may well make the playoffs, but there's this big thing in the Bay Area these days about how the Giants used to be, number one, and then, the Niners come in and the Warriors come in, and there's a real threat that the Giants are just kind of a second tier team in the Bay Area these days. And that's why they made such a push to try and sign Judge and Correa. And
the A's still exist, so you're okay.
No, they don't suck, and they play in a great ballpark, and they'll be interesting, but they're just not very good. And
can John Heyman show up to San Francisco?
I'm not. That's a good one. I'm not being an angry fan. We won 3 World Series, and it's not like we're bad. It's not like the Giants are bad. They're not the Rockies, but it just doesn't.
Great ballpark, by the way.
It just doesn't bring a ton of confidence. You don't watch the game. You just said it. You don't turn them on and be like, hell yeah, I'm going to watch some amazing players tonight. Like, you're just like, oh, they're fine. They're just fine. And when they inevitably come in second place for Shohei Ohtani, a joke I stole from Grant Brisbee, because they came in second place for Harper, second place for Judge, second place for third place for Correa or whatever. They're going to come in second for Ohtani. He's going to look great in Dodger blue. First place for him. That's my little spiel on the Giants. They are a very okay team full of okay players. Shouts to Austin Slater, though. He's a good guy.
I feel like they're just the land of misfit toys.
Yeah, and it's like Farhan Zahidi is great at identifying, which starter's going to bounce back and turn into Kevin Gausman or Carlos Rodon. And he's good at identifying, like, JD Davis actually is pretty good, but like,
he's a good hitter against lefties. Yeah.
No, but they haven't, you can't build a consistent winner out of 2 WAR guys. No. You need actually good players, and they don't have that yet. And it's really frustrating. That's all. That's my Giants rant.
Would you rather be a fan of the Giants this year or the team that's right under them, the Angels?
The Angels. You get to watch you get to watch Trout and Shohei every day. There's no better show in baseball than those two.
I will say
the Giants are going to win more games than them.
Shohei is literally bananas to see in person, man. I went this past season with my brother, and we went it was I think it was Cole versus I don't know who was pitching. It wasn't Shohei. Shohei wasn't pitching. But Yanks went up 2-0. I think Stanton hit like a nuke or something. And Cole is dealing. And I think it's like a bloop and a catcher's interference or something happened. Something ridiculous happened where two guys get on base. Shohei comes up to the plate. Cole gets up on him like 0-2. And we didn't have great seats, but it looked like Shohei got hit by a pitch. And he didn't take his base. So it was a ball. It looked like it hit him. Literally the next pitch, 420-foot line drive straight to center field off Garrett Cole. This guy is a pitcher. This guy is a pitcher. It makes no sense.
He's not a pitcher. He's not a pitcher in the sense that baseball people like to make fun of pitchers. He ain't a pitcher like that. Okay.
It's hard to imagine that I play baseball and I am part of the same race as Shohei Ohtani. We are not the same species. This man is different. He makes no sense.
I mean, he really isn't a pitcher. As someone who's gotten all the fucking pitcher jokes, he ain't a pitcher like that. Come on.
I feel like the people that watch this will see and hear you, and they'll be like, "Yeah, that guy's left-handed."
Yeah, I have really strong lefty pitcher vibes.
Super lefty vibes. All right, let's look at FanDuel.
Wait, hold on, JT.
Yeah.
Just cut this out of the recording, but I gotta cut it off soon. I texted you, but I'm fucking hungry. Can we do the division shit like in a week or two or some other time? Like,
we're live. Hungry. We're live right now. Everyone heard this right now.
That's fine. I didn't realize if this was recorded or whatever. I'm fucking hungry. I gotta go eat, man.
All right, we're good. We'll cut it here. We'll look at bets some other time. I'll probably be on with Cato and Patty soon. And yeah, guys. Thanks for hanging with us, and we'll see you next day. Someone chatted. Jared's laughing at it. All right, y'all. We'll be back.
Peace out.
See y'all.